Yeah. There are lots of ways to show love. I mean, Jeremiah, he was a loving guy, you know, but boy, he brought painful conviction.
But
it's law to the proud and grace to the humble. We want, we need proud hearts. Proud hearts have to be broken by the message that, through which the Holy Spirit works. And it gives us no pleasure to, throw down thundering Jeremiads. I don't like it. I'd much rather, preach grace and tell people how they can find life and set them up with an adoption. But, we just need them to come humble themselves first for that. Yeah.
They're so callous, so something has to break through.
Yeah.
It's always about, Jesus did come to save from sin by sacrificing himself in ultimate love to people who didn't care.
That's right. And there's nothing we can do to add to that. There's nothing we can do to gain us more merit than he gained, than he earned on the cross, and that he gives to us as a gift. Nothing more we can do to merit it. Nothing we can do to give us a better standing with God or like a higher account. We have Jesus' merit transferred to us as a gift, and I thank God for that. And I want other people to have that gift too,
I do. We express the gratitude that we have in all the works that we do. We're just expressing that gratitude.
If I could ask you to think about something, just because you said that just now, that is not. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like I think the Roman Catholic Church is a good church to be at. I appreciate you being out here, and we can be friends and we can speak courteously, etc. And smile at each other. But I do also want to tell you the truth that I believe that your soul's in danger because you're attending a church whose official teaching cannot support what you just said about drawing a distinction between God's grace that sufficiently saves us and gives us everything we need through the sacrifice of Jesus alone, one time, that's acquired through faith and as a gift from God. It may be that in the circles you run in, because I don't know anything about you or your friends or family or your church, it may be that is taught, but the official teaching of the Roman Catholic Church, even as expressed as recently in the Catechism, and in but very, very, very succinctly in the Council of Trent 500 years ago, or 470, that message is not the same. The message of Trent, of the Council of Trent, which has never been revoked, was to say that those who say that God's grace that saves and justifies in the eyes of God, those who say that that's a gift that's acquired by faith, are cut off in anathema. They are actually cut off from the church. They're not, whatever anathema means, it doesn't mean, you're a member in good standing with the church. So they have actually split that off of the church. They did it. And they have not turned back from that. And it just really makes me afraid for the soul of somebody who would continue to go to a church that teaches that officially, especially when there's so many other options in the area that do preach, for all their other faults, they at least preach the gospel, the good news of Jesus crucified for sinners, whose merit is given as a gift by faith to those who believe and who believe only, who do not trust in anything they do, who do not trust in any penance or anything they earn or anything that they try to merit or anything else, but just in Jesus alone. And so I'd just like to ask you to, I know it's just a real short conversation, you've been in there for a long time, I'd just like to ask you to think about it, and I'll pray for you too.
Well, I have to research more into what you're saying, because that's not what's being preached from the pulpit. And just like I said, we're in the Word, every time we go to Mass, we're in the Word. We hear that many times expressed that we're saved by grace through faith. We haven't taken anything or added anything to the Word as it is.
Do they ever say like grace alone, through faith alone? Do they say alone?
Yes, I expect so.
You think so?
Different homilists are different what they want to focus on. We're only reading out of the letters of St. Paul so we discuss that. And I would need to look back into the Catechism and try to find, because that just does not jive with what this this is what we're taught, that the sacrifice of Jesus is definitely sufficient, and that grace is, and mercy is a gift of God for His love of us. The only thing that we want to highlight is that faith without works is death.
Right, of course.
Not to say that we're earning our salvation, but like I said, we're just, the love that's given to us, and then we're just reflecting. That's what we're learning today. I have no idea what the Council of Trent said. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not that good at
Sure. I've had the misfortune of reading it myself, so that's...
Well, I'd have to look back to that, and I'd have to look back to the Catechism, because language has subtleties in the way that people interpret it also, especially if we're taking from something that was said in Latin and then
translated into English. Sure, absolutely.
That's not the faith that we're practicing. And like I said, Christian, I don't know why I missed those guys this morning, and so I'm trying to work out what brought me to you guys instead.
Sure, I appreciate that.
And obviously time to hang together or hang separately.
Well, can I ask you to partake in the Mass every Sunday and you ask for several So is it possible then for you to then partake of the sacrifice every Sunday and still die in an imperfect and impure state?
And go to hell?
Right, well,
not even hell. Sorry.
Is it possible for you to die in an impure state after having started with the sacrifice? That's why I'm concerned, because the sacrifice of the Mass doesn't protect anybody. Jesus alone, he can say he's protected for all time. Those who believe upon him, protected him forever. So see, I don't need to go back and keep partaking of this sacrifice. It was done once for all by Jesus on the cross, and it protects those for all time who believe upon him. So really, the Mass is not only a necessary thing, because you're falling down, a man is falling down Jesus on his throne to inhabit this element.
When in fact he's on his throne. You know, Stephen saw him at the right hand of God the Father.
Yeah, of course. Stephen saw what Jesus' rightful place.
Yeah, that's where he sits.
But through this whatever, and I don't know exactly what the priest said on the thing, exactly what it said to call him down. But the fact is, this man thinks he can call the Son of God on his throne and have it. That's a good thing to partake in. But the thing is,
you were preaching and you were talking about being conformed and having Jesus indwell in you and conform you more like unto himself every day. And when we receive the Eucharist, that's what we're doing. Jesus said to himself, he said, "This is my body and this is my blood. Just do this as often as you should.
As you drink it.
Do this in memory of me."
But even when he said, "This is my body and my blood," he was right there. He made his body actually. And his body was right there.
That's what he said. Well, my body and my blood will have life. Lots of people said that's weird, and they departed from him.
But that's a fair question though to ask. He must have meant something other than the literal blood and body in any way, because he was right there.
He was holding his body and blood was holding it.
Where bread doesn't mean his flesh. The wine became his blood.
You know, in John 6, when the people go away from him, he says also in that same chapter when it says, "Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in yourselves." He explains what that is twice actually in that passage, and he says that those who come to me will never be hungry, and those who believe in me will never thirst. The eating and drinking it's the figure of speech that he's playing on, because he just multiplied 5,000 loaves and fishes and all that kind of stuff, and people were wanting him to be an earthly Messiah and wanting him to provide bread for them every single day, every meal. They wanted him to snap it into existence, and he's telling them no. The whole point of that was to show you that I'm the bread that comes down from heaven, that those who eat of me and drink of me by believing and coming to me, that's what he meant. Will never die. The reason they walked away from him is because he told them that no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I'll raise him up on the last day. For it is written in the prophets, they shall all be taught of God. Everyone who hears from and learns from the Father comes to me. He was telling them that they don't choose to come to God. God chooses them. And that's what offended them. They were angry because they told him because he was telling them that they can't come to him unless they were chosen already. Not because of not because of something about Eucharist or whatever. I would just encourage you to read John 6, because I have also gone back to look at that many times because of that exact same thing. And I saw the way that the passage is bookended in 35 when he explains that coming to him is drinking and believing in him is eating, and then he repeats it in the 50s. He says that the flesh profits nothing, but the words that I've spoken to you, are spirit and life. And we're just, we're concerned because, for another thing, Jesus is on his throne. He's not here. He's not physically here. He's spiritually here, but he's not physically here. He's physically at the Father's side. To say that he is in a million Roman Catholic churches at once in consecrated hosts is to say that he's not on his throne anymore, or that his human body can be everywhere, which no human body can be. It's just here, it's local.
To say that he is physically on his throne at this time is to say that the creator of the universe is bound by space and time.
He bound himself. That's what he did in the incarnation, remember?
God works in the lives of people through the person of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
The Son doesn't come down after the throne.
Jesus has intentionally limited himself to a human being because he's taken on, as the creeds say, he is very God of very God, but also a man, born of the Virgin Mary. He was a man, and he was, so if Jesus were standing right here, 2,000 years ago, then I'd be talking to him, and he would be here, but he's not here, because his body is here. He took on a body for a purpose and for a reason, and now it's a resurrected body, an immortal body, to show us how the body of his people will be once the final resurrection takes place. It's immortal, but it is limited to a particular place and at a particular time. It's a mystery, of course, but so is God's infinity and his omnipotence and timelessness, etc.
Right. So that's what his omnipotence and timelessness